Good afternoon. Welcome to our first Talking Cafe of December, 1st of December today. And it's a really interesting one today, especially considering everyone's thinking about buying their Christmas presents. We are joined today by an author called Fanny Charles. And she and another person called Gay Piri-Weir have published a book called Deepest Somerset. So as you can imagine, it's all about Somerset, and I'd just like to welcome Fanny to the studio.
Hi.
Good afternoon, Fanny, and thank you for coming on today. I've been looking online, had a look last night, and was really excited to see some extracts from the book and you talking about it, but I don't want to talk about it anymore. I'd love you to maybe give us a description and tell the viewers a little bit about it.
Okay, well, I'll hold it up. When you're looking on screen like this,
that's fine. Yeah,
looking the wrong way. Okay, so that's the book. So we call it a portrait of the county. So it's the third book we've done. We started with Deepest Dorset, then we did Deepest Wiltshire. Our books raise money for local charities. We're funded by a charitable foundation, and all the proceeds of the sales go to charity. So we've so far raised something over £75,000 with the first two books, and we're doing very well with Somerset. Somerset was published at the end of September, and this one is raising money for Somerset Community Foundation, for the Children's Hospice Southwest. I expect lots of your viewers, will know there's a Children's Hospice at Wraxall. And the third charity is the Farming Community Network, which, if any of you remember, who could forget the floods of 2014? The Farming Community Network were the people who stepped in first to help, because the plight of the farmers on the levels was beyond terrible. But they provide a fantastic service, voluntary. It's run entirely by volunteers. It's an amazing charity, and it provides all sorts of support and backup for farmers. A lot of people don't realise how isolated farmers are. They help with mental health issues. They help with financial problems, and also lots of general farming advice. So there are three great charities. So that's who Somerset's supporting. And if you'd like to ask some questions, I will try and fill in the gaps.
Fantastic. Okay, so briefly, just looking at it yesterday, how would you say Somerset, stands out from perhaps Dorset and your other book?
When you think about it, if you look at a map, we're a very small island, and it looks like quite a small area. And the three counties they have long shared borders, and on the face of it, it's all Wessex, it's all shared history. They're so different. In fact, we realised at the end of it, I will actually, very briefly, I'll show you the other two books. So that's Wiltshire, which is green, and that's Dorset, which is blue.
Yeah.
It looks like it's blue for the coast and green for the Salisbury Plain and the Chalk Downs, and Somerset is this gorgeous sort of old gold, which could be
colours,
or it could be cheddar cheese, or it could be both. Actually, there was no plan at all. They just turned out that way. But it does kind of, I think, indicate the difference. In Dorset Dorset's a very rare county in that it has no motorway. Both the others, of course, have a motorway. Dorset's very, very rural. I mean, obviously, Thomas Hardy, great history of dairy, but you've got the coast, most of which nowadays is the Jurassic coast. So it's incredibly important in terms of archaeology and prehistory. Lots of wonderful, beautiful old villages, some great schools, some wonderful churches, obviously Sherborne Abbey, Christchurch Priory. So Dorset is a very, very rural county, and we both of us know it extremely well. Gay was born in Christchurch, which is now part of Dorset. I mean, back in the Dark Ages when we were born, it was actually in Hampshire, but And it's so I think that Deepest Dorset very much reflects that very deep rural and sort of maritime history. Wiltshire is an extraordinary county because it's often described as being like a donut, and there are various opinions as to how that works. Some would say, well, it's a donut and Swindon is the jam because Swindon kind of powers the county. But on the other hand, you could say it's a ring donut, and because you have the M4 at the top, you've got the A303 at the bottom, and down both sides you've got roads, including the dreadful A350. So the Salisbury Plain is like the hole in the middle. But in any event, Wiltshire's a county of two halves. It really is. You've got South Wiltshire with Salisbury and the Chalk Valleys, and then you've got the Plain, and then you've got North Wiltshire, which is fascinating and we didn't know at all. So Wiltshire was an incredible journey of discovery for us, really. Somerset, everybody goes, there's two ways of looking at Somerset at the moment. Oh, it's so trendy, it's depressing. You know, so many, I mean, the latest arrival is supposed to be David Cameron. I don't know. Lots of people have bumped into George Osborne walking his children or his dog or something. You've got Mariella Frostrup and Stella McCartney, so not to mention the Newt. So there is this kind of media perception that Somerset is super trendy. Notting Hill in the countryside. On the other hand, of course, there's Cheddar Gorge, there's Glastonbury Festival, and there's cheddar cheese and cider. And I suppose to a great extent, what we've done is we've tried to what we try to do with all our books is to get beneath the obvious sort of cartoonish caricature image of the county. So this is not about, straw sucking peasants.
Smock-wearing farmers.
It's not about Glastonbury Festival, and it's not about Cheddar Gorge. They're all there somewhere in there, but we've tried to sort of show what the county is like now, how it's become like it is, through interviewing a lot of very, very interesting people, through asking a lot of interesting people to write for us. So, I mean, among the people who've written for us are Cameron McIntosh, the Lord Lieutenant, who is Mrs. Annie Moore, who, if anybody has met her, will know is absolutely wonderful, fantastic, super helpful as well. Cameron McIntosh has written about living in Somerset. He has a beautiful old house just outside Wincanton and has had it for many, many years. He is not one of our recent celebrity arrivals. He really knows and loves Somerset. Michael Eavis, of course, but and Gay interviewed Michael Eavis not about the festival, because who doesn't know about the festival? Gay interviewed Michael Eavis about his Methodist faith. He's a lifelong Methodist, and she had a hilarious and wonderful afternoon with him, being driven around Hilton in the famous red Jeep. Anybody ever watches Glastonbury Festival on television, or better still been, you will recognise the red Jeep. Very few brakes, no clutch to speak of, no doors. It's a very exciting vehicle to be driven around in. And she was actually there during the week when they were filming, because as you all know, the Glastonbury Festival didn't happen this year. But there was a brilliant weekend online event, and all the stars came down to record various places around Worthy Farm. So Michael drove Gay around Pilton, sort of, stopping to talk to people left, right, and centre, and then on their way round, she met Damon Albarn, she met Dave Grohl, we're all green with them, the people she met. Really interesting interview, because I think
how did she work with the fact that she went and not you?
Oh, well, because she knows Michael. She's interviewed Michael before.
Okay. Yeah.
Gay wrote a book called Not Afraid to Dream with Liz Leishon, who is now a county councillor. She was the director of Strode Theatre at Street for many, many years. And when Strode Theatre celebrated its 40th anniversary, which is now, I suppose, about 20 years ago, Gay and Liz wrote a history of the arts in Somerset called Not Afraid to Dream. And they interviewed Michael then. And so I got to know him a bit because I used to edit the Fossway magazine as well as the Blackmore Vale magazine, which was in Dorset. But Gay always knew Michael better than me, and it seemed absolutely right that she'd be the one that would do that. Oh, I got to do some interesting interviews too. We both did.
You mentioned in the book about the Coates family.
Oh,
and
yes.
the Willow Centre. Did you actually go and visit there, or?
Oh, yes. And in fact, they're great. They're selling the books. and they've already sold lots. And if any of your viewers haven't ever been to the Willow Centre, it's so worth going. And it's a great time to go at Christmas, because not only can you buy deep Somerset, but also buy beautiful baskets and willow hangings to go on your door. You can get a wreath, so you can make your own Christmas wreath. But I mean, it's fascinating because we've got we've got a bit of history of willow industry, because of course willow is one of Somerset's very, very, very oldest industries, probably older than quarrying and mining actually. It's always been handed down through families. So basically, I think the other family is the Morlands, but it was the Coates that we interviewed. It's just how it worked out. The Willow Centre is really worth going, because first of all, you get the whole history in the Willow Centre, but you can also have a lovely walk right round the grounds. You go right down. It's sort of on a hill at Stokes and Gregory, but you're going to go down the hill and walk across the levels and see the withy beds and everything, and it's fascinating.
It's more of a day out, isn't it?
It is.
You could easily make a day out. Yeah.
There's a cafe. Yeah.
And I love the family history and everything. So I've worked in primary schools in Somerset for quite a few years now, and I've got a willow creation. We to bring in the local history and the local knowledge of crafts and things. I did a lesson one day with probably nearly 25-30 children, willow weaving, and they all made a star or a heart, and I had the willow soaking in my bath for a few days, much to my children's disgust. But it's a fascinating part of that local history. Absolutely amazing. And you also mentioned about clerks, of course, which is an integral part of the business and community in Somerset too.
And clerks is also very much tied up with the history of the Quakers in Somerset.
Okay.
The Quaker history, Somerset's been very, very important in Quaker history. In fact, the West Country generally is a dissenting area. So once Protestantism sort of started, it really took hold in the West Country. We've got a very interesting piece about the history of Bridgewater Carnival, for instance, because that actually does relate very closely to Guy Fawkes and the whole idea of the very, very strong dissenting Protestant feeling in that part of Somerset. So that's very, very interesting. There's the Monmouth Rebellion, which again was very much about the Protestants rather than the Catholic King James. And the Monmouth Rebellion, the last major battle fought in England, was just outside Western Zoyland.
Yeah, I've been to the site before with on a school visit. Yeah.
And it covers the whole of Somerset, so that's a very interesting thing. But the Quakers, it's another, and the Clarks are one of the old Quaker families, as of course are the Morlands. And the Quakers were incredibly strong in Somerset. There's some wonderful old Quaker meeting houses, including at Long Sutton. Long Sutton has a beautiful old Quaker meeting house. We have a little one here in Wincanton, but Long Sutton's is really lovely.
Yeah.
And Ilchester Jail, which was one of the country's really, Somerset had two notorious jails. It had Shepton Mallet and Ilchester. And so there's actually a piece in the book about the history of the prisons. But Ilchester was particularly notorious because a lot of the Monmouth Rebellion people, the rebels, a lot of them were banged up in Ilchester Jail in those horrendous conditions. And there was a Quaker who was in there at the time, and he recorded all the conditions that they were kept in and how many died and some drawings. And we've got one or two of those things reproduced in the book as well. It's a very dark history in some ways, but then we come through to Clark's. We haven't kind of really covered it very much because not so much of the shoemaking actually happens in Somerset, sadly now. The family is really important.
Oh, well, it's incredible, really. I've only lived in Somerset for about 19 years now, and the county, I absolutely adore it. And the more I find out about it, the more interesting it's just, it's super. And it's funny because you always hear about people tearing down the M5 to get down to Cornwall, well, actually, you need to stop here because there's so much to see. And of course, you've got the museum at Glastonbury and the museum at Taunton that talks all about the the Monmouth Rebellion is covered quite well at Taunton.
It really is. We've got the famous portrait of Duke of Monmouth, which is at Taunton Museum, is reproduced in the book. We had lots of help from the museum people. Dr. Bob Croft has written the archaeology piece for us, and they were so helpful. But talking about interesting places to go, one of the places that I went to do interviews and was fascinated by is Watchet. I mean, Watchet is such a pretty little place, and has had quite a rough time recently. Well, a few years ago, because the paper mill, which was the main employer, closed. They're wonderful, these companies. They always seem to manage to close on Christmas Eve. Let's give people a really great Christmas present. So, and when it closed, it was something like 30%, 40% of the employed population of the town. And there's an amazing group there called the Anion Collective. It's an all-female group, and they've been working on all sorts of projects to bring people to watch it, because it's really pretty. It's a lovely little harbour. Samuel Taylor Coleridge met a sailor there who inspired him to write the Rime of the Ancient Mariner, and there's a sculpture of the harbour of the Ancient Mariner. So that's one of the interesting connections. There was a famous sea shanty singer there, and there's another connection there. Right. It was the end of what was called the mineral line, where the iron ore came down from the Brendan Hills, was mined on the Brendan Hills in Exmoor, and it came down this vertiginous railway. It's kind of like that. Apparently, the public were allowed to travel on the little trains at their own risk. I mean, you can't imagine how dangerous it must have been. So quite a lot of people who actually lived up in a village up on the Brendan Hills at the top of the mineral line. It was when the iron ore stopped being extracted, the village was demolished. So there's only one or two bits left. There's a little Beulah chapel up there, and there's the old winding house is up there. Basically, it's a ruin. So the iron ore came down to watch it, and now you've got this amazing group, the Anion Collective, and they've just opened East Quay, which is a fantastic sort of arts and cultural centre and a cafe and a shop. Get booked there. And this weekend they are having their first ever Christmas craft market. So we're going to be there on Saturday, and we'll be very pleased to meet anybody that's coming.
Fantastic. And you'll be taking some books, I take it?
We are taking books with. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So where else can we buy the book then?
Okay, lots of independent bookshops. Let me see. Well, Bailey Hill in Castle Carey, Mr. B's Emporium in Bath, Dickett's in Glastonbury, which is a smashing shop.
Yeah.
The Snug Bookshop in Bridgewater, which is on East Quay in Bridgewater, and it's just the dearest little bookshop and cafe. I'm going to forget a few, and I'm going to feel guilty. Oh gosh, the wonderful bookshop, Brendan Books in Taunton. Waterstones in Yeovil have it, but most it's in independent bookshops, and all of the stockists are on our website, which you are very kindly putting.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah. So if they went onto the website, they could find.
You can also order them from us. But we really like to get them into independent bookshops, because that's what we like to. Thank you for that. So yes, but you can phone us or email us, and we will send them out. And in fact, nearing Christmas, if people want them sent directly to the recipient, we're very happy to do that as well.
Oh, even better, especially knowing people like myself who's probably slightly delayed on buying Christmas presents. That's brilliant. And I was talking to you earlier, I cover Langport and Somerton, so it was really exciting to see that there was a bit on kayaking in Langport, because that's grown hugely this year, hasn't it?
It's wonderful. I mean, the parrot is so beautiful at Langport. Actually, what we did discover that was really interesting, and we had no idea, in the West, like watching places like that, get all these strange Celtic saints. I mean, Watchet has this wonderful St. Decuman, apparently came over from Wales to convert the pagans in a coracle with his cow. I mean, it's all in the book, and it's a really interesting story. But the parrot there were only one or two places where there were ferries. There were no bridges. The Parrot is a big river, and by English standards. And it was so historically, the eastern part, so east of the Parrot, was actually Anglo-Saxon. The western part was still Celtic. And they really were like separate countries. So when you go over to West Somerset, it has quite a different feel. And I think you were asking me about what makes them different, the counties different. The other thing that makes Somerset so different, apart from its extraordinary history, is the hills. You've got you've got the Brendans, you've got the Mendips, of course, you've got the Blackdowns, you've got the Poldens and the Quantocks, and they're all different. They've all got history, and they look different. They've got different wildlife, even different trees, and definitely different geology, and that's fascinating.
And then we have the levels.
Levels. The upshot of it all is that we have the most fabulous farming and the most wonderful food and amazing cheese. So, and although there are two of us who write the book, which is me and Gay, we have a third, another woman. It's a very, very female organisation. This Philippa Davis, she's a chef. She's actually from Dorset. We've known Philippa since she was at school. And for each of our books, Philippa has created recipes drawing on traditional ingredients or doing new spins on traditional recipes. And so she has a section in each of the books. And for Somerset, she went over to Porlock and found out all about Porlock oysters. So there's a great piece about Porlock oysters. She also went to White Lake Cheese to learn about they mainly make soft cheeses. They make some brilliant goats, sheep, and cows cheeses. And I went to Keen's, everybody has their favourite farmhouse cheddar. So, Montgomery's is brilliant, Pitchfork is brilliant, Barber's is brilliant. I went to Keen's because it's just outside Wincanton, and I spent a day learning about cheddaring.
Wow.
Good hard work. Watching James Keane. George Keane gave me the tour, and we were watching James for ages. And I said to him, "You really don't need to go to the gym. I mean, talk about a workout. It's like handling about 3 tons of cheese a day. And it's the most incredible hard work. But what it produces is wonderful." And we had great fun learning about cider. We were hugely helped by Matilda Temperley at Borough Hill, but also James Crowden, who's probably the country's leading writer and cider historian. He's written a piece on the history of cider. So yeah, I mean, whatever you're interested in, really, if it's in Somerset, I hope we've got something about it.
Oh, that's fantastic. And have you got a favourite part of the book? A favourite area or a favourite craft or trade? Or
I mean, I suppose, I don't know what Gay would say. I suppose because I wrote most of the the food and farming chapter, I suppose the food and farming chapter is probably my favourite. But Watch It was something that we both became really excited by. I mean, we loved beating the onions. They're the most amazing bunch of women. And to see how a small group of people with really great ideas and energy and skill, who all come from the area, come back, all got families, young kids, but now working so hard for their community. When you see that, that's inspiring. I think for Gay, she absolutely loved doing a lot of the history. She had a great time learning about gloving. Went to one of the old gloving factories, South Coombe, which is at Stokes of Hampden. So yeah, people ask us what our favourite bits are, and it's really hard.
So many. There's so many. Oh,
truly, we've lived here now for over 30 years. I mean, I have family connections with the county anyway, and we just love Somerset. It's a fascinating place.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. Oh, that's just amazing. You give me goosebumps because I love it too. And honestly, this book is definitely at the top of my Christmas list. There's no doubt about it. It's been really exciting having a look at it and meeting with you as well. So so what a fantastic Christmas present. People love something that's local and don't they love history, and it just encompasses everything.
Fashion. And that's the other thing. We've never had fashion before, because there were no fashion designers none that we knew of in Dorset and Wiltshire. But we've got Alice Temperley. I did a lovely interview with Alice Temperley, and Terry and Angelica Macy. So Terry Macy's at Glastonbury, been there for many years. Alice obviously is Temperley family, so long deep Somerset connections. Only recently returned to Somerset, So she's now got this great old building in Ilminster.
Really exciting for Ilminster.
So it's fantastically exciting for Ilminster. But we've now got two really, really good fashion designers actually based. So, and we've also got obviously the Museum of Fashion in Bath, and we went back into history a bit with them, Beau Nash, and so I mean Somerset's been at the cutting edge of fashion for a long time.
Oh, years and years. It's nothing new. Oh, that's absolutely fantastic. And did you say you're at Watch It on Saturday?
Watch It on Saturday, yep.
Brilliant. And I do know, as I'm a Langport local village agent, that Langport have got their Christmas fair as well on Saturday. And massive, loads and loads of crafts and Shakespeare glass down on the River Parrot.
Shakespeare glass is in the book.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, he is just such an artist.
Yeah. So it makes you realise, doesn't it, how full Somerset is and how rich it is, really.
I think we only scratched the surface.
Well, I'll make a start with your book. That's super. Fanny, thank you so much. And thanks to Gay as well. Have a good Christmas and enjoy your fair on Saturday.
And we'll look forward to hearing from any of your readers, viewers, members. And we have a Facebook page for Deepest Books. So if anybody wants to go on there, they can see a bit more as well as the website.
Fantastic. That's lovely. Thank you so much, Fanny, and thank you, Gay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.